I'm sitting here in my living room listening to the soft ticking of the old clock on the wall. It's a quiet sound, comforting in its rhythm, almost like a heartbeat from the past. My late husband Peter built that clock with his own 2 hands. Every tick feels like a whisper from him, a gentle reminder that time keeps moving whether we're ready or not. This house isn't big or fancy, but it's mine. Every inch of it holds pieces of my life, photos in dusty frames, creaky floorboards that remember dancing feet, and that particular dent in the wall from when Jack threw a baseball indoors, even though I told him not to. It's a home built on memories, and now that I'm 69 and retired from teaching, it's become a kind of sanctuary. My name's Charly Jordan, though everyone just calls me Charly. Even my old students do when they bump into me at the grocery store. My son, Jack, is 42 now, a good man. He's always been gentle like his father, with a quiet strength I admire. He's been married for over a decade to Emily, a woman who, well, let's just say we've had our ups and downs. And they have a daughter, Lily, my sweet granddaughter. She's 10 and full of light, like sunshine bottled up in a little girl. Mom, you sure you don't need anything else done around here? Jack's voice pulled me from my thoughts. He was standing in the doorway, holding his car keys, that familiar crease of concern between his eyebrows. I'm all set, sweetheart, I replied, giving him a smile. This old house is holding up just fine, thanks to your dad's handiwork. He nodded, though I could see he didn't quite believe me. I think he worries more about me since Peter passed. All right, but if you need anything, you call me, okay? Don't go through Emily. You know how she gets. I sighed. Jack, she's your wife. I don't want to be the reason for any tension. He shrugged. Yeah, well, things have been tense, but we'll manage. We always do. We moved on to lighter things after that. Lily's school project about volcanoes, Emily's plans for some fancy dinner party I hadn't been invited to, and Jack's latest landscaping job. But underneath it all, there was this quiet distance, like something unspoken was always in the room with us now. After he left, the house felt too quiet again. I sat there a while longer, just thinking, letting the silence stretch around me. Then the phone rang, making me jump. I reached for it, heart hoping it was Lily, but it was Emily instead. Her voice was clipped, like ice. Charly, I need you to watch Lily tomorrow. Something's come up. No hi, no how are you, just straight to business. I felt a flicker of frustration, but my love for Lily always comes first. Of course, I'd love to have her. Thanks, she said, then hung up. I stared at the phone for a while. Once upon a time, Emily used to call just to chat. She'd ask me about recipes, about what Jack liked as a kid. We used to laugh together. Now it's like I'm the help. I spent the rest of the day cleaning up the house, fluffing pillows, and baking cookies. When you're my age and alone, having a child around feels like a second wind. And with Lily, it's not just babysitting. It's a chance to feel needed, connected. That evening, I sat on the porch with a blanket and a cup of chamomile tea. The sky turned a gentle shade of purple as the sun dipped below the hills. I let my thoughts drift back to the early days when Emily first entered our lives. Jack had come home one evening, grinning from ear to ear. Mom, I want you to meet someone. Her name's Emily. I think she's the one. I remember how happy he looked. That look, that glow in his eyes. It had been years since I'd seen it. So, of course, I said yes. I told him to bring her over. When I met Emily, I was struck by how confident she was. She walked into my home like it was a job interview, hand outstretched, smile polished. Pleased to meet you, Mrs. Jordan, she said. I remember chuckling. Oh, honey, call me Charly. Mrs. Jordan makes me feel like I'm handing out detention slips. She laughed, but there was something behind her smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Those first few months were a dance, her trying to find her place in our family, and me trying to make space for her. She'd ask about Jack's favorite meals or his childhood stories. I liked those moments. I thought maybe, just maybe, we'd grow close. One afternoon, she asked me how to make Peter's famous beef stew, Jack's favorite. Maggie, I want to surprise him, she'd said. Her voice had softened, and for the first time, she looked a little unsure of herself. I remember thinking, maybe this girl really does care. We cooked together that day, and something like a truce formed between us. But it never lasted long. Emily had big ideas about who Jack should be, what kind of life they should live. She'd push him to take risks, chase promotions, move cities. Jack, on the other hand, was happy, content with a quiet life, raising his daughter, working outdoors. Like Peter. He's too comfortable, she'd say to me, clearly frustrated. He's stuck. I'd try to stay calm, but I couldn't help bristling. "He's happy," I told her. "Isn't that what matters?" Emily would just roll her eyes and say something about potential, about ambition. And then Jack got a high-paying job. Later, he opened his own business. I was proud of him, truly. But I also knew he hadn't done it alone. Emily had pushed, pulled, and probably argued until he gave in. They were building something, yes, but the more they built, the less I saw of them. Our Sunday dinners became monthly visits, then just holidays, then nothing unless I reached out first. I missed Lily the most. That little girl lit up my life. She'd bring me drawings, stories from school, even silly little bracelets made from rubber bands. But then, even those visits slowed down. One day, I overheard Lily asking, "Why doesn't Grandma come over anymore?" Jack answered gently, "Grandma's always welcome, sweetheart. We've just been busy." But Emily's voice followed, cooler and firmer. "Your grandma has her own life, Lily. She can't always be around." I bit my lip that day, trying not to cry in front of them. But the hurt settled in deep. Still, I held on to hope. I kept showing up when asked. I kept baking Lily's favorite muffins, kept that guest room tidy just in case. Then came Lily's 10th birthday. I'd been planning for weeks. Found the perfect gift, a big book of fairy tales with beautiful illustrations and stories I used to read to Jack. I wrapped it in shiny paper with a big pink bow. But the invitation never came. At first, I thought maybe I'd missed it. I even asked Jack about it. "Mom, Emily said she sent it. She told me you couldn't make it, said you had other plans." My heart dropped. "Jack, I never got anything. I wouldn't miss Lily's birthday for the world." He sounded confused, said he'd check and call me back. He never did. A few days later, I found out through the grapevine that the party had happened right there at their house. Not out of town like I'd been told. I didn't go charging over. I didn't cause a scene. I simply left the wrapped gift on their porch the next morning, taped a little note on it, "For Lily with love from Grandma." Then I went home, and I cried. A few days after the party, I ran into Karen, my neighbor, at the grocery store. You know the type. Lovely woman, heart in the right place. But if there's a piece of gossip floating around town, she's the first to catch it. "Oh, Charly," she said, wheeling her cart beside mine. "Lily's birthday party was just adorable. Emily really outdid herself this year. The decorations, the cake, everything. Shame you couldn't make it. Lily kept asking for you." That smile of hers, sweet but clueless, hit me like a slap. I forced a grin. "I'm glad it went well. Sounds like it was a lovely day." Karen kept chatting, but I was already somewhere else, far away in my head. Every word she spoke was like sandpaper on a wound. I made a polite excuse and left before my mask could slip. The walk home felt heavier than usual, each step thudding with anger and sadness. My thoughts spiraled. When had I become the outsider? How had things turned so cold? I couldn't take the silence anymore. I called Jack. "Jack, we need to talk about Lily's birthday," I said, skipping the pleasantries. My voice was steady, but my heart was pounding. He sighed on the other end. "Mom, now's really not a good time. Work's slammed, and Emily's not been feeling great." "I understand," I said. "But I need to know the truth. Why was I told the party was out of town when it was right there at your house? Why was I lied to?" There was a long pause. Then Jack's voice came through, quiet and uncertain. "Emily thought it would be easier this way." "Easier?" I repeated, disbelief flooding me. "Easier than what? Including me?" "She just didn't want any awkwardness, Mom. Things have been tense and she thought, I interrupted, my voice rising now, that lying to me and keeping me from my granddaughter's birthday was a better option. "Mom, I'm sorry. I didn't know what else to do," he mumbled. "Emily has a way of seeing things, and sometimes it's just easier to go along." I swallowed the lump in my throat. "Well, I hope it was worth it, Jack. I hope excluding your mother was the smooth solution you were both looking for." "Please, Mom," he said, voice cracking. "Don't make this worse." "I have to go," I said softly. "We'll talk some other time." I hung up, staring at the phone like it might give me some comfort. But it didn't. It just sat there, silent and cold. That week, I felt more alone than I had in years. The house felt too big, the silence too loud. That's when I decided to do something I hadn't planned on. I got myself a little companion. A dog, a scrappy little thing from the shelter, with floppy ears and eyes that could melt steel. I named him Buster. He wasn't much to look at, mostly fluff and nervous energy, but he made the house feel alive again. With him trotting behind me, I suddenly had a reason to talk aloud, to laugh, to go for walks again. I couldn't wait to tell Lily. I picked up the phone and called. To my delight, it was Lily who answered. "Grandma," she shouted, her voice bubbly. "How are you?" "I'm doing just fine, love," I said, smiling ear to ear. "Guess what? I've got a surprise for you. I got a little dog. His name's Buster." "A dog? That's awesome," she squealed. "Can I come see him?" "Of course, sweetheart. Anytime you want." She didn't waste time. That very afternoon, the doorbell rang. I opened the door to find Lily bouncing with excitement and Emily standing stiffly beside her. "We can't stay long," Emily said without even a hello. Her eyes were scanning the room the moment she stepped in. I swallowed my irritation and forced a smile. "Well, come in. I've got some cookies and fresh tea." Lily dashed to the living room where Buster was already wagging his tail. The two of them became instant best friends. Meanwhile, Emily's eyes landed on the new oven and the armchair I'd recently bought. "These are new," she said, voice sharp. "Who bought them for you?" "My son did," I replied, trying to keep things neutral. "It was a birthday gift." Emily's face tightened. "You shouldn't be demanding money from him like that." My heart thudded. I didn't demand anything. Before I could explain further, Lily ran in, holding her arm up. A faint scratch was visible on her skin. Emily's eyes flared. "That dog bit my daughter," she shouted. "No, he didn't," Lily protested. "I scratched myself on the bush outside." Emily ignored her. "We're leaving," she snapped, "and we won't be coming back." Before I could stop them, she dragged Lily out the door. Lily looked back, her eyes wide with confusion and sadness. I stood there frozen, the door still ajar, my hands trembling. Buster came over and nuzzled against my leg, as if trying to comfort me. I scooped him up and sat down, staring into space. My mind replayed the whole scene like a broken record. I needed someone to talk to, so I called my sister Carol. "Carol, you won't believe what just happened," I began, trying to keep my voice steady. Carol listened quietly, then said in that no-nonsense tone of hers, "Charly, don't let Emily get in your head. That dog didn't bite anyone. She's twisting things again." "But Jack won't even return my calls," I said, tears threatening. "Neither of them will." "Give it time," she said firmly. "And if they don't come around, you've got me and Buster. We're your family too." She was right, and I clung to that thought for days. But the silence stretched. A week, 2 weeks, then a month. Not a call, not a text, nothing. Then, just when I started to find a new rhythm with Buster, life threw another curveball. Pneumonia. 1 minute I was coughing. The next, I was being rushed to the hospital, struggling to breathe. It came on so fast I barely had time to think. Carol was there within the hour, bless her. She stayed every day, holding my hand, talking to the nurses, making sure I had everything I needed. Lying in that hospital bed, hooked up to machines, I couldn't stop thinking about Jack, about Lily, about all the silence between us. "Carol," I whispered one night, "can you call Jack for me?" She hesitated. She knew how long it had been. But she nodded, took out her phone, and made the call right there beside my bed. "Jack, it's Carol," she said. "Your mom's in the hospital. She's very sick. It's pneumonia. She's asking for you." I could barely hear his voice on the other end, but I caught the words. "I'll come now." He did. Jack arrived that evening, his face pale, eyes red. He rushed to my bedside, took my hand in his, and for the first time in what felt like forever, I saw my son. "Mom," he whispered, "I'm so sorry." His voice broke. "I've been such a fool." I could barely speak, my throat raw from illness and emotion, but I asked the question that had haunted me. "Why, Jack? Why did you believe that about Buster?" He looked away, shame on his face. "Emily showed me the scratch, said it was the dog. I didn't want to believe she'd lie, but I was angry, hurt. I don't know what I was thinking." "Jack," I said slowly, "you know Buster. He wouldn't hurt a fly." "I know now," he replied, squeezing my hand. "She lied. About everything. I'm sorry, Mom. I should have known." Hearing his apology was bittersweet. I'd waited so long for that moment. My heart hurt for all the time lost, but it also warmed at the thought that maybe, just maybe, we could start over. "We're here now," I said softly. "That's what matters." He nodded. "I'm going to make this right, Mom. I promise." Just when I thought the worst was behind us, that maybe things were beginning to heal, trouble came knocking again. Only this time, it was wearing a suit and holding a briefcase. A week after I was discharged from the hospital, still weak but recovering with Buster curled beside me on the couch, I got a call. A man introduced himself as a lawyer, said he was working on behalf of Jack. "Miss Jordan," he said, too polished, too rehearsed. "Jack is currently abroad and we need your signature on a few urgent documents. Legal formalities, nothing complicated." Something in his voice made my skin prickle. I'd been a school teacher for decades. I know when someone's reading a script. Jack didn't mention anything, I replied cautiously. I'd like to speak with him first. Unfortunately, he's unreachable at the moment, traveling through areas with limited signal. Of course he was. That sinking feeling in my gut returned, deep and familiar. The same one I'd felt when I learned I'd been excluded from Lily's birthday. When Emily pulled Lily out the door that day without even a glance back. I hung up and immediately called Jack, straight to voicemail. I called again, nothing. That's when I phoned Carol. Something's not right, I told her, pacing the living room as Buster trotted behind me. A lawyer just called, said Jack needs me to sign some documents. What kind of documents? Carol asked, instantly alert. He said it's legal stuff, something about transferring responsibility or ownership, but he was vague. Do not sign anything, Carol snapped. I'll be over in 10. And true to her word, 10 minutes later she was standing in my doorway, purse slung over her shoulder, like she was ready for battle. The lawyer showed up shortly after, slick hair, fake smile, eyes that moved too fast. Miss Jordan? He greeted me like we were old friends. Shall we get started? I'd like a few minutes to read through everything, I said, gesturing to the thick stack of papers he'd laid on the table. There's really no need, he replied with a smile too wide. It's all straightforward. That's when I knew something was very wrong. I suggested we take a little walk in the garden before signing. It'll help clear my head, I said, pretending to be a sweet old lady who needed fresh air to make big decisions. To my surprise, he agreed. While I led him outside to admire the flowers, Carol stayed behind. She snapped photos of every page with her phone as fast as her fingers would let her. When we returned, the lawyer was growing impatient. Shall we sign? I think I'll need my own legal counsel, I said calmly. His smile faltered. Really, Miss Jordan, there's no need to complicate this. Just then, the front door burst open. Emily. Her face was red, her tone sharp. Just sign the damn papers, Charlie. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. I stared at her, stunned. Emily, what is going on? We're trying to help you, she hissed. You're sick. You can't live alone anymore. That dog, this house, it's too much. She tried to keep her voice controlled, but the cracks were showing. This is my home, I said firmly, and I'm perfectly capable of deciding who lives in it. Jack agrees with us, she lied smoothly. Really? Because I spoke to him last week, and this didn't come up. That's when I reached for my phone and did what any woman raised in the age of cassette recorders and hidden mics would do. I hit record. Emily, I said, tell me again why you think I should sign away my house. Her eyes narrowed. Because you're not well. You've been hospitalized. You're forgetful. You need help. Funny, I replied. The doctors say I'm recovering just fine, and I don't recall giving anyone permission to sell my house. She tried to protest, but I'd had enough. I'm calling the police. Her expression changed instantly. She went from angry to concerned faster than you could say manipulation. She's confused, Emily told the officers when they arrived. I'm just trying to help my mother-in-law transition into assisted care. But Carol and I were ready. We showed them the photos of the documents. We played the audio recording of the lawyer insisting there was no need to complicate things. And most importantly, we had my clean bill of health from the hospital. Emily's lies unraveled like a sweater with a loose thread. The police took her in for questioning. The lawyer disappeared so fast I don't think his shoes touched the ground. The days that followed were a whirlwind of statements, legal filings, and stunned neighbors dropping by with baked goods and disbelief. But the real moment came when Jack finally returned from his trip abroad. He walked into my house looking like a ghost. Mom, he said, I just got back. What happened? I told him everything. From the call with the lawyer to Emily bursting through my door to the police arriving with flashing lights. Carol backed me up every step of the way. She was going to have Charly sign over the house, she told him, and ship her off to a care facility without her consent. Jack looked shattered. She told me she was just tying up some paperwork while I was away, he muttered. She said it was all under control. She used Lily, I added quietly. She lied about Buster. She's been building this story for months. Jack didn't say much after that. He just sat there, staring into space, his fingers rubbing his temples like he was trying to press the truth into his brain. I have to talk to her, he said finally. And he did. He went straight from my house to theirs. When he returned, he was alone. His shoulders were heavy, his eyes red-rimmed. She admitted it, he said. All of it. The fake documents, the birthday lie, even the thing with Lily's scratch. She said she felt like she was losing control, that she didn't know how to manage anymore. I didn't know what to say. I told her it's over, Jack continued. I can't be married to someone who would do this. To my mother, to our daughter. I've already called a divorce lawyer. I reached for his hand. Jack, I'm sorry. He shook his head. Don't be. You warned me. You always tried to make peace. I just didn't see it. I didn't want to. In the days that followed, Jack came by more often. Sometimes with Lily, sometimes just to sit with me in silence, like we were making up for all the time that had been stolen. Emily moved out quietly. There was no big scene, just a moving truck and one less car in the driveway. Life settled down in a strange, quiet way after Emily left. There were no more heated phone calls, no unexpected knocks at the door, no backhanded comments about my furniture or my dog. Just peace. A kind of peace I hadn't felt in years, though it came with its own kind of ache. Jack took some time off work, and when he wasn't at the office, he was here, helping me in the garden, fixing a loose step on the porch, or just sitting beside me while we drank tea and listened to Buster bark at squirrels. He was still raw, still sorting through the mess left behind. Divorce isn't easy, even when it's the right decision. And for Lily, it was an adjustment. One minute her family was whole. The next, her mother was in a different house, and her father was learning how to braid her hair. But kids are resilient, and Lily had the love of her father and of her grandmother. She visited more often now. She'd race through my front door, drop her backpack, and immediately head for the cookie jar, the way Jack used to when he was her age. "Grandma, can Buster sleep in my room again?" she asked one Friday night when Jack had dropped her off for a weekend stay. "Of course he can," I said, ruffling her hair. We built a little routine. Movie nights with popcorn, pancake breakfasts on Saturdays, and long walks around the neighborhood where Lily told me about school and friends and how her dad always burned the grilled cheese a little, but she didn't mind because he tries really hard. Hearing her speak with such affection made my heart swell. Jack was stepping up, becoming the kind of father I knew he could be, not just present but fully involved. One afternoon, Jack and I sat on the porch while Lily played fetch with Buster. "I've been thinking," he said, his voice softer than usual. "Maybe I should move closer, not just for Lily, but for you too." I looked at him, surprised. "Really?" "Yeah," he nodded. "There's a house for rent just 2 streets over. Small but perfect for us." Tears welled in my eyes. I didn't even try to stop them. "I think that's a wonderful idea," I whispered. "Having you and Lily nearby, it'd mean everything." A few weeks later, they moved in. The house wasn't fancy, but it had a big yard and sunlight in the kitchen, and, most importantly, it brought us together. Suddenly, Sunday dinners were a regular thing again. Sometimes just the 3 of us. Sometimes with Carol joining in, bringing her famous pecan pie and a fresh dose of sass. We were healing. One evening, while Lily and Jack played with Buster in the garden, I sat on a bench under the maple tree Peter planted decades ago. Carol joined me, holding 2 glasses of sweet tea. "You're quiet," she said, handing me one. "Just thinking," I replied, taking a sip. "I never thought things would feel whole again. Not after everything." Carol leaned back, watching Jack laugh as Buster jumped into a pile of leaves. "You held your ground, Charly. That's what made the difference." "I almost didn't," I admitted. "I almost signed those papers. I almost believed I was the problem." "But you didn't," she said firmly. "You knew your truth, and you had people who believed in you." I smiled. "Yeah, I guess I did." Time passed. The seasons changed, my strength returned, and with it came a sense of purpose I hadn't felt in a long time. I started volunteering again, reading to kids at the local library, helping out at the community garden. People welcomed me back with open arms. And it reminded me that life, even in its loneliest seasons, always has a way of blooming again. Then one day, Jack walked through my front door carrying a small box. "I found this in storage," he said. "Thought you might want it." Inside the box were old photos. Snapshots from when Jack was a baby, Peter's letters from when we were courting, Lily's first crayon drawings, things I hadn't seen in years. As I flipped through them, I found one that made me stop cold. It was of me, Peter, and little Jack sitting on the front porch, Buster's predecessor, an old beagle named Max, curled up at our feet. "I miss him," I said softly. "Peter." Jack looked at the photo and nodded. "I do too." He sat down beside me. "I think he'd be proud of us, of how we found our way back." I squeezed his hand. "Me too." Later that week, during one of our regular dinners, Jack stood up and raised his glass. "To new beginnings," he said, "to family and to forgiveness." We all clinked our glasses. Lily added, "And to Buster." We laughed. It was such a simple moment. No grand declarations, no big production. Just us, together, safe, loved, home. That night, after everyone left and the dishes were done, I sat in my favorite chair with Buster curled at my feet. The house was quiet, but not lonely. It was peaceful. I thought about the past year, about how quickly things can fall apart, and how slowly they come back together. But they do, if you fight for them, if you speak your truth, if you let go of pride and hold on to love. The pain still lingers sometimes. I won't pretend it doesn't. There are nights I still wonder why Emily turned so cold, or why Jack didn't see it sooner. But I no longer carry those questions like weights. I've set them down, made space for lighter things, like laughter and pancake syrup, and Lily's stories about a boy in class who thinks ketchup counts as a vegetable. The next morning, as I watched the sunrise spill golden light across the garden, I whispered to myself, "We made it." Buster barked once, like he agreed, and in that moment I believed we had.